Over the summer, the Department of Justice announced that it would be phasing out the use of private prisons for federal inmates. According to August 18th memo that was generated by the Deputy Attorney General Sally Yates, she said this: when each private prison contract reaches the end of its terms, the Bureau should either decline to renew that contract or change or reduce its scope, with the goal of reducing and ultimately ending our use of privately operated prisons. But is that promise already being broken? Joining me now to talk about that is Executive Director of the Trial Lawyer magazine, Farron Cousins. Farron, you can start by outlining how the DOJ is already backing out on their promise to phase out private prisons.
Well, it's really interesting because, they did what the Obama administration has done since day one. They come out and say, look, we know here there's a problem with something. We're going to fix it. Everybody just go ahead and move on from it. And then, of course, the DOJ has already been re-upping contracts with private prisons, especially this one at McRae in Georgia that is probably one of the worst privately owned prisons in the United States, has a horrible reputation for denying inmates medical care. They're denying them access to legal services. Instead, they're placing them in solitary confinement so that they can't continue working on their appeals. And the DOJ just renewed their contract after saying, we're not going to do this anymore. And it's the standard of Obama.
What justification are we hearing for them telling us one story one day and then completely lying about it on day two? Surely there's some justification that we're hearing from the Department of Justice.
Well, what they always like to tell us is that, look, it's saving money. But in reality, all of the analyses that have looked into these private prisons say they save less than 1% of the money that these federally run prisons spend. You're saving less than 1%, and normally that money comes in the form of salary cuts to prison guards and things like that at these privately held prisons who make substantially less and are grossly underqualified for these positions. They pull people as young as 18 years old to be prison guards, no prior experience, no college education. They hire you, you're in there the next day as a prison guard.
So what we've done is we've made it profitable to put people in prison. And aren't we already seeing stories where we have judges, especially with young adults, throw them in prison for the darndest things when we know it wasn't a prison kind of offense? So we're seeing that more and more, aren't we?
We are, and we're starting to see Jeff Sessions is a great example here, too, coming in to head the DOJ. He is actually in favor of mandatory minimums, which does nothing but increase the population of these private prisons.
Got to go. We want to do this story a lot more.